We say things that don't mean anything, but thanks for listening. Yeah. Hello, everybody, and welcome to We Say Things, episode 54. Sponsor absolutely nobody except for our beautiful Patreon supporters. My name is Sunshine, joined by Cinder, and how are you doing today?
Good, Shannon. Nice energy. I'm ready for this energy to transition into something that a lot of people have been excited about, but we'll get there.
Your
You know
haircut?
what? Because you have
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, we're gonna talk about my haircut for this whole podcast. Actually,
I'm pretty
it's
sure
very
we can do that.
it's good. I like it, but
It looks
it's
great,
not
Cinder.
worth talking about very much. Okay, I think we're going to split the In Bruges tier shoutouts today. Of course, big shout out for all of those of you who continue to support our podcast, very much so with the In Bruges tier. I'll do the top half. We have, as usual, Mr. Underscore Man, Absolute Sword, Ben Broomhead, Ben Jackson, Chosnik Pizda, DG, Dayon Shy Guy, Dop, Dyslexic Lawyer, Fane, Fred the Pleb, not Fred, and Freshly Seasoned Gold Balls. You're back. Good. Okay.
He's back.
You do the rest.
GG Gamer 74, Hoey988, period, Anonymous, my boy Novi Panda, Onion the Dog, Poop Feast 420, back at it again, Pitch Black, Ronnie Keel, Shark Trademark, it's a new one, Sinby the Dinby, I like all these rhymes are great, Terry Tip, The Coward, Fellowship of the Ping, and Wooden Aftertaste. Thank you guys so much for being a part of the In Bruges tier. We love you. Okay, so now, Cinderin, before we get started, I have absolutely nothing to talk about. We're going to talk about the TI-10 Battle Pass that was just released. There's a lot to unpack, Cinderman. I figured the best way to do this is it's going to kind of go in order of what's on the website. So if you guys want to go on the website to follow along, that's probably the best place to do so. Right now, we're sitting on 5 million in terms of the current prize pool. When the Battle Pass came out, you could not buy anything for 3 hours. It was brutal.
I was streaming. It was fun.
It was brutal. And my guess is usually their infrastructure's to a point where they feel pretty comfortable coming out with it. But my guess is there's so many more people at home, still, that perhaps the
I don't know. No
overload was too much. Okay, we can just assume. So the first brand new thing, Cinderin, is guilds. Do you want to talk about this briefly?
Sure. So it's new and it's not new at the same time because they have tried running guilds before in Dota, but they weren't really too successful. A few people missed them from what I understood, but not very many. And it was basically just an infrastructure where people could be in the same guild and that would be a way of like communicating, finding people to play with, and that was kind of it. But the way they've done it now is they've basically taken, in this battle pass, they've taken inspiration from Artifact, actually a decent amount with what they're doing. I'm sure we'll get to that later. I don't think there's anything specifically Artifact-ish about guilds, except a little bit with the design of like the 1, 2, 3 star bounties that you have, the bounty killing in there, which you'll also get to, I suppose. But yeah, basically guilds is you can have up to 50 people in your guild together, and you earn rewards by playing together and completing challenges. So the new thing is that there's actually a return from being in a guild and playing together, and there's guild tiers. So you, by being in the same guild for a longer time or leveling up your guild, all the members get extra benefits for the battle pass. So to me, this is a really, really good improvement on the previous guild system, because I think the reason it wasn't very used before was that people were like, yeah, but what's the point, right? A lot of people, at least, didn't really use the guilds because they were like, I can just communicate with people through Discord. Like, what does the in-game guild do for me?
Right.
But now, it's really interesting.
So not to bring this up live, but you kind of, got up late and you never answered my question. Can you answer my question that I sent you earlier concerning guilds? Is that something we can do? Or is it already taken for you, Cinderin?
It's kind of already taken. All
right, thanks, Cinderin. Thanks all your Patreon supporters. You're doing great, but Cinderin's not interested.
Nah, so all right, so real talk though. I really quickly made a guild for my stream.
Mm-hmm.
And then I quickly realized the thing that makes sense with the guild is to be in a guild with people you actively play with, right? So ideally, the guild system places you play in guilds with people around your bracket so that the games remain enjoyable, right? For everyone involved. So I joined a guild with other very high bracket players because I would assume that if we are to play things together, then it's like the same as if you force people to party queue together when there's like a 3K player and a 7K player, and it's just not good games, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
A to
making a
Z
guild like that
challenge,
is just
great example of that.
exactly. So it's not because I don't want to play with other people of a different skill. It's just like the games don't get. It's just not good for anyone. Unfortunately, you don't really find very good games like that. So the meaningful thing to do with guild is to try to get people together that are roughly around the same range. In my opinion, at least, that makes a lot of sense to do it like that.
Is there any benefit to just passively being in a guild?
Yeah, if everybody else does stuff for you, that's what I'm doing right now.
Okay, that's what I want. Thank you.
Yeah.
We'll get something set up.
The guild needs to level up, and then everybody who's in the guild has the passive benefits, such as the first one is reaching level 2, and then you unlock something extra in the side shop, which you'll talk about in a sec. So,
okay. Yeah, guild should be interesting. Like you said, a new take on an old concept that was kind of a. How far back was the guild system in Dota 2? Was it like the first couple years? I don't even remember how long ago that was.
No, it came after a while, and it was there for like, I don't know. It feels like it was there for half a year, and then
Yeah,
they
it
just
was
took
not
it
very
out.
long.
Something like that.
Okay, well, next for the Battle Pass, it's funny, they don't even have a name for it. It's called a special summer event coming soon.
Yeah.
This summer, a mysterious power arrives to disrupt the war of the ancients, and no one, god, mortal, or monster alike, can resist this terrifying pull. Step away from the battlefield and into a labyrinth of trials and horrors. The one to master it all could be you, but probably won't be. But it could be you. So obviously, a mini game of some sort. Not a whole lot of information concerning what exactly. I mean, there isn't even like in-game screenshots or anything like that. Just artwork overall. So kind of the typical thing with the Battle Pass where a good portion of it is not available right away by design. I mean, I'm sure it's a lot of work to get everything out at the same time anyway if they wanted to, but it wouldn't make economical sense because you got to go with the paycheck sender every 2 weeks. Come out with something in the Battle Pass. Just remind people, hey, you remember that paycheck you just got? Got to spend on some dotes. So we'll have to wait for that one.
Yeah.
Did you want to talk about that one at all?
Yeah, just quickly, because the important thing for me is the wording. It's a PvE event, right?
Yeah.
You're playing as 4 players together against the environment. So supposedly, what I am hoping and what I think a lot of people are hoping is that this goes a bit in the direction of Siltbreaker, which to me was one of the best custom modes we had. I think my favorites, or I know my favorites, are Siltbreaker and Wraith Knight. These were the 2 best ones for me.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty excited for this one, and for me, that's honestly it's one of the biggest things about the Battle Pass is the custom mode. I think it makes a huge difference for how good I consider it to be. I know a lot of people are just after the hats and the voice lines and whatever, but I think the special event is really, it's also from an effort perspective. It's the one that Valve probably puts the most time into as any single thing, right? It takes a lot of time to make something like that. So I can understand why it can be a little bit, a little bit scary, if you will, if you're making the Battle Pass to make that event, because like you could be the one spending the most time, and then if people don't like your mode, then it just kind of sucks, right? Instead of working on other features for the Battle Pass, it's kind of a high risk, high reward kind of thing for the developer to make. But I really do appreciate when they get good. Like Siltbreaker to me was fucking awesome. It's one of the best things that has happened to Dota in my opinion.
So I've
I
said
hope
this
one is
before.
like that.
Siltbreaker, I wasn't a fan of just because I'm not into that type of game, but I appreciated it for what it was. Like,
Yeah.
It was very well done. Don't think it got enough love to the point that they would want to redo it, though. So I'd actually be surprised if it ends up being more along the lines of Siltbreaker, but we'll see. Wraith Knight and Moon something, and there's like three of them I fucking loved.
Yeah.
Where you just
And then there was Wrath of the Morokai, which was just kind of a swing and a miss, like as an example of where it doesn't go very well, unfortunately.
There is a new cavern crawl, which, they always add 1 or 2 things every year, but this one, it's a little bit different in the fact that it's kind of like having 2 cavern crawls, where if you finish both, you get additional versions of the set, different unlocks, if you will. So there's a Slark, a Nyx, and a Spirit Breaker. Personally, not a big fan of any of them, other than the Nyx is decent, but it's not like something I'm looking at and I'm like, I need to do this. But I don't think people really care that much about the sets. It's just the idea of having some progression system
Yes.
that kind of gives you some direction on what you want to pick, and that just makes it more fun for, I would say, majority of people. So,
And there's a lot of players that are completionists, right? That
yeah,
do it just to do it because
those
it's
poor
cool to
OCD
have done
people,
everything.
they just got to finish all of them. That's rough stuff. There's also Battle Gauntlet. Okay, you need to explain this to me. So the Battle Gauntlet, as far as I can tell, is Battle Cup. It's basically that, but with a 3 checkmark 2x system. Can you explain this to me?
So this is the first thing that's inspired by Artifact, right?
Mm-hmm.
In Artifact, you had this, what was it called? Was it just called Gauntlet? It was called Gauntlet,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Where you play until you have either 3 wins, or in Artifact it was 5 wins. You play until you have 5 wins or 2 losses, I think. But they've ported it over to Dota. Now it's 3 wins. So short version, basically, you play games and you need to win. What would that be? 3 out of 5 games without losing 2 in a row.
Right.
So you need to win 3 out of 4
So
games.
they're just regular
actually.
games, unranked.
Yeah.
I assume.
I think you can play them both ranked and unranked. I'm not 100% certain exactly how it works, to be honest with you. But the idea is that there's this like challenge you can take yourself on, and if you complete it, you get bonus rewards for, I believe, both your guild and the battle pass. It's hard to remember everything. It's like an absolutely huge dump of stuff at once that just came out. So bear with us if we say something slightly wrong or fully
that's
wrong.
the one
which we don't really.
I didn't look into as much because I just thought it was literally a Battle Cup. But okay. This one is very interesting, and it's gotten a little bit of hate early on. The side shop. So I'm just going to read the brief description that it comes with. The side shopping business is tough these days. Some might even say non-existent. But for Sithel and Quert, that's Squirt without the S, by the way, that's all about to change. Because they've got a line on a mythic prize so rare, it'll fetch almost any price. The emblem of divinity. I love how they just do lore for random shit like this. All they need is a little help finding it. So hire some heroes and sell a few sell swords to couple old sold sellers. That's a tongue twister if I've ever heard one. As the most important link in the chain, you'll be sure to get your cut of the action. So this is a different variation of the recycling system. So if you go back a couple years, recycling was very easy, right? You get rid of X amount of sets from the Immortal Chest or the Collector's Cache or whatever the case may be, and you get Battle Pass points. Plain and simple. You literally upgrade your Battle Pass. Last year, correct me where I'm wrong here, they changed it so it was not like that, but you would just get, like, once you hit a certain amount of recycle points, you just get another set or something like that. Is that how it worked? I'm trying to remember. They changed it.
You got another treasure.
Yeah. Full treasure then. Okay.
Yeah.
So now it seems way worse for the consumer. It's almost like Valve is trying to push the limits to see how far they can go, because now when you recycle stuff, it gives you like this different kind of currency, right? In the side shop. And it's almost like a mini game of Underlords where you're trying to match up. You can re-roll a bunch of times. You're trying to get 3 of one hero to get the 2-star, and then you need 3 of those 2 stars to get a 3-star version. Then you can recycle those for more points, which I guess you can take the rest from here.
There's different types of rewards, basically. There's let's say the bad ones and the good ones, to make it simple. The bad rewards use the red gems, and the good rewards use the blue gems. Blue gems you get from combining 3-star units of level 4 and level 5 only. And red gems you get from combining everything else. You just get bigger amounts the harder they are to complete.
Yeah.
And 1 blue gem will net you a TI-10 Immortal Treasure. 2 blue gems will net you a Trust of the Benefactor. And 35 blue gems will net you an Arcana. Which basically means, if you do the translation in terms of assigned value by Valve here, every blue gem is, well, how much is an Arcana in dollars nowadays? Like 40?
35, I think.
Is it 35 still?
Oh, now did they change it recently? I don't know.
I don't know. It could just be like currency
Arcana
exchange or whatever. Like maybe it is just 35. It's very possible. So let's say it's 35. Then they consider the gem worth $1 in that sense. But yeah, you can't buy the Immortal Treasures, right? So you have to level up the battle pass to get them. So they just consider them worth 1. The trusts are worth 2 because they have a chance of dropping some really sick shit. And then the Arcana is 35. Supposedly getting 35 gems is going to be really hard. Like when you think about the odds, I don't know how many coins you're going to get over the course of the entire battle pass. That's obviously where people are like a bit skeptical. Like, is this too greedy? Is it feasible? And I can't answer that because I have no clue if you play actively and regularly how many coins you end up getting and how
I
likely
will
you are
say,
to get.
did you
many
re-roll a bunch and try to play this
gems.
minigame?
I haven't played it yet. I'm waiting for my guild to be level 2. Then you get another slot on the bench.
Oh, I didn't even know that. Fuck. I
Yeah,
should have waited.
That's
I was going to say
that's the first guild reward.
it feels, I mean, obviously it's supposed to be like Underlords, but it feels way harder to upgrade units because you don't have, because in Underlords you have the bench space, but then you can float heroes onto the board to create extra space, and without that it feels almost impossible, especially for like these level 1 or level 2 units you can get. I think I even got a level 3 unit to 3 stars, but the 4 and 5,
my advice to viewers and listeners is don't play this until your guild is level 2. It might not sound like much to get 1 more slot on the bench, but it makes a huge difference.
Are there any other benefits
for that game, you mean?
Yeah, like are there better chances to get a higher tier unit at any point, or is it just completely random?
That's what I wasn't sure about. There was one. I'm getting through it. On level 16 for the guild, which is very far away, you get 5 extra side shop gold per guild challenge completed. So it contributes to the side shop, but it doesn't change the rules, so to speak. There's another one of those on level 23 for the guild. So no, the game is the game. At level 2, you have all the functionality.
So what I want to do is when we get to a big talking point like this one, I want to talk about it like we just did, and then kind of review it, like our impressions right now. And then when the battle pass, when we're done talking about everything, we talk about everything as a whole. So for this one, I can appreciate this on some level because you have, number 1, something new that they're probably testing out. Number 2, some relation to Underlords, which I'm sure is important from a marketing aspect. But from the consumer standpoint, I think it feels, and I could be wrong, like you said, the numbers, it's just too early to tell. It feels like a loss because it makes it much more convoluted to just, all you want is to recycle this shit and get more treasures like you had back in the day. That's what people were complaining about last year. And now it's to another level where it just doesn't feel nearly as efficient as it used to be.
I think the big plus here, the big plus for me is that instead of recycling just feeling like this kind of, instead of it just being like this grind of don't want this item, roll another one, don't want this item, right, roll another one. There's a little bit more like interaction with the game here happening. There's like a different level of entertainment. It obviously sucks if you hate this kind of game. If you think Underlords is stupid and you don't like the idea of rolling these units and trying to combine them and have a bit of fun with it, then it obviously sucks if you just want to get the treasures straight away and be done with it. But for everybody that doesn't mind this minigame, I like the idea of it feeling like when you get a treasure you don't want, you get more, there's more time in return for getting a double set. Like you get more gameplay, if you will, out of it. But yeah, like I said, if you hate the game, it's stupid, right? About the value, I can't tell you. Like I don't know how much harder it will be to get extra treasures. In the end, though, the big winners, if it's harder to get the very rare sets, are obviously the people that put in the most money, so they have the highest chance of getting them because there's not as many bonus treasures. And in the long term, that will also mean that the people that do acquire them and get duplicates will sell them at a higher value the next year once they're available to sell. So for like the really hardcore, if you will, market users or whatever, this is probably a win, I think. But don't know.
I'm interested to see what the community thinks past the first impression because that's the thing that Valve's going to look at the most. So
honestly, I kind of like it. In my honest opinion, this is going to be fun to fiddle with. As soon as I get the extra bench slot, I'm definitely going to play it. And then see how many coins you get.
I had fun playing around with it, but then if you remember, like this is the problem, right? Hindsight, where you look back 2 years, like I probably gained over 100 levels just by recycling, like legitimately, or maybe 80.
That is the true thing.
Like the value has been horrible. which we'll talk about at the end, I suppose.
Leveling up the battle pass this year will be a lot harder, right? Basically, unless there's like a lot of guild quests. We haven't really factored that in, right? Like they took out the levels for recycling, but now all the guild rewards are just passively all the time when you play. You're getting stuff you didn't last year, right? Every time you do a contract, every time you complete a guild challenge, like whatever it is. Maybe the summer event will have a lot of currency connected with it, like battle pass points. It does say as part, like that's 3 selling points for the special summer event, right? It's the Labyrinth Awaits, Choices of Life and or Death, and then Battle Pass Blessings. Any Dota players who want to try their hand are welcome to join the fray while this special event is active. Battle Pass owners will receive special rewards for their play. So everybody can play the custom game, but Battle Pass players get.
Okay. Yeah, I mean,
I'm
that's a
guessing
good
points,
point. We can't look
so
at
I
it
don't
in a
know.
vacuum because
Right.
as a whole, maybe things have changed across the board that will make up for what we're talking about as lack.
Maybe. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
Next thing, I don't know how much we talk about this, but bounty killing. Each week you'll receive bounty tokens used to place bounties on enemy heroes. Your teammates will see the bounty notice and timer. If someone kills the target before time runs out, they'll earn 200 battle points, but the player who sets the bounty cannot be the one to complete it. Their reward comes only from savoring proper execution of the task. Increase the number of tokens you receive per week by raising your battle level. So this, to my understanding, can be used in ranked games.
Yes.
Do you think this affects anything negatively, potentially?
I don't know. I think it's probably just good fun, actually. Okay. Like,
I think it's cool.
People are going to throw a bounty on someone, and then people are going to be a little bit extra horny for that kill, you know?
Does it show for everyone?
I think that's fun. Huh? Yeah,
Does
I think so. I'm pretty sure. It shows for your team, at least. I don't know if it shows for the enemy
If
team.
it shows for everyone, this is the closest we're going to get to a Heroes of Newerth taunt, which was hilarious.
Right.
I hope it shows for everyone. That would be funny. Because then it gives you a certain level of risk, right? Because if you don't get it, or if you proclaim that you're going to kill this guy, he's going to play a little bit more passive. But maybe that's what you want. Maybe it's the mind game behind it. Maybe you don't even want the battle pass points. But then that affects the game a little bit more if all see it. So I don't know. Like this is the type of thing I would say unranked would make a lot more sense than ranked. But hey, to each their own.
To me, this kind of stuff, if you want to ask my opinion, because you always I'm the very skeptical one about competitive integrity and competitiveness of games, etc. But
yeah,
to me, there's a big difference between ranked and pro games. Like ranked is still, yes, it's a competitive mode, but it's not one where you're playing for a lot of money, right? Like the financial incentive is very different. So I think putting in a little bit of fun like this in ranked flies way better with me than it being in pro games. Mm-hmm. At the same time, though, it's kind of harmless, right? If you put a bounty on somebody in a pro game as a taunt, like if you consider all the other stuff we have, it's whatever. It doesn't really impact gameplay unless people want to in the game, right? Like you're willingly doing it yourself for fun for your team. So like the only one who can lose on it is you. It's like pay to lose, you know? I don't have a problem with pay to lose. That's fine.
There's some pay to lose stuff in the game. Next thing, which I really like this one, even though it's kind of small, community match predictions. Yep. Each day we'll select one recent community match that all Battle Pass owners can see and vote on. You'll see the heroes, lane assignments, and skill bracket for the match. Make a prediction on which lineup triumphed, and then check back the next day to see the results. With Battle Pass points rewarded for accurate predictions, there's nothing to lose apart from a guessing streak or two. This is actually really smart for getting people to come back into the client, even if they're not playing. Like I personally, even though it's so stupid, I love voting for the Arcanas, but it's once a week you do it. Right. This one is an incentive to just come back in the game every single day and like, oh, maybe I'll play a game of Dota as well. Why not?
And I think
I like it.
I think there is a slightly hidden agenda here. I mean, I don't know how hidden it is, but I think
to educate on what's good.
No, to make people focus less on, oh, this game is over in the draft. Like having these games where you see the drafts and you're like, holy shit, this draft looks really weird and this one looks really good. And then you're like, oh, the bad draft won. Like the fact that if you show brackets that people play in and you show the drafts and then get to show that, people a lot of the time in any bracket will be like, not necessarily full on give up, but will be super skeptical about the game from the get-go because of picks. And a lot of the time, games are winnable with wonky stuff, and this can kind of reinforce that the thought that the game itself is, the game needs to be played.
Do you know if it's the same
I
vote
feel
for
like
everyone?
that could be
Same
a thing.
game? Or is it
I don't know.
different
We
per
can
person?
check right now if you open your client.
Oh boy, I don't know if I want to do that.
Why
It
not?
might make a noise. Just tell me the lineup of the
Oh.
dire, and I'll remember.
Oh, do you have the launch video on?
Yeah.
You can switch that off with no vid. Okay. The dire has Wraith King, Invoker, Furion, Caudle, Rubik.
Okay, it's the same. So what's stopping somebody from looking at these exact lineups on Dota Buff or something? How many games have the exact same lineup on both sides? That has to narrow down a lot.
I don't know if you can search for that in any of those engines.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, maybe there's
I don't know
another
if you
way to do that.
Search for exact hero combination. If you can, this is kind of pointless, right? But
Yeah.
that's a really good point. Like, if people can just find the answer every time, like, what's the point?
Who'd you vote for?
Maybe if you can
I
find the
misclicked.
exact game every time.
I literally misclicked because I thought it wasn't just a one-click answer. I clicked dire.
I voted Radiant.
Yeah, I
Radiant.
would have voted Radiant, but I voted dire. So we'll see if it's
because
a
of the
trick question or
bracket.
not.
That's what it's really interesting, because like my perception of this is it's extremely important what bracket it is. Like, if this was Immortal, I would vote for the dire lineup. But obviously some strategies and some lineups and some ways of playing are much better in different brackets.
Yeah, we could
very well be wrong anyway. Like,
we can tally all of our correct and incorrect answers into a betting situation here, Cinderin. I'm not interested because you'll own me. So next thing, which we don't really need to discuss too deeply, some of these we're going to skim by. MVP has been revamped to use more of a formula, and it shows at the end of the game certain things, like their example is how many fissure stuns you had, multi-stun, etc. So,
that is similar to CSGO, right?
I wouldn't know. I haven't picked that. I know Valorant doesn't have that.
Isn't it where CSGO
Actually,
has like after the games, there's like different people earning different like titles for that game, and then it is connected with what they did in the game, like hit most flashes or defused most bombs or whatever it is.
I must have stopped playing before they put that in, but Valorant does have some of that in there.
Something like, yeah.
But good to see. The one I'm sure many people are excited about is the interactive versus screen, where you can you can do a bunch of shit. What can you do? You can emote. Can you actually taunt? Is that a thing, or
I think you can? Yeah, I'm pretty sure I saw that yesterday.
Okay, so that's kind of fun. I like that. I have not seen this yet. The pause screen playground. So
yeah,
anytime the match is paused, one of 3 different mini games will appear to help you pass the time until all players are ready and accounted for. Try your hand at Whack-A-Meepo, Musical Chairs, and Hero Hunt. Who knows? Maybe you'll never want the pause to end. I haven't seen this yet. Have you?
I've seen Whack-A-Meepo only. I think there were 2 or 3 pauses yesterday when I played, and it didn't. It looked a little bit buggy, I think, but like, it's a cute idea. It's actually pretty
sounds
funny.
Awesome. I can't even visualize it.
And I think...
Is it 2D or is it 3D on your map?
It's 2D. It just opens a window.
Okay.
That plays the game. But
that's cool.
Like, I actually think something like that might be a bigger quality of life upgrade than some people expect it to be, just because, nobody likes pauses. And people get like uneasy and resume games because they're bored. And if there's like literally anything to do, it might give a higher chance that the players get to reconnect and you get to play the actual game, right?
It's a low attention span, I mean,
yeah, it's just a real thing, right? I think it's an awesome thing to test, to just see what happens.
I mean, I've talked about how when we're in anytime I've ever had a meeting with Slacks, he's also playing a video game at the same time. It can be a very important meeting with like a sponsor. He is playing a video game. So people like him, when the game is paused, I can't even imagine what he does. He talks shit probably, but does he open up another game on top of Dota if it's paused? But now
he starts juggling.
Yes.
In his meeting. Just like, don't mind me. Just
they updated wagering, which I don't even want to talk about. It's whatever. Assistant features. So post-game healing chart. They added a bunch of cool stuff. And the one I want to talk about, number 1, outgoing damage summary. It shows what type of damage you've been dealing throughout the entire game, which is cool because I love the damage received. It's actually helped me a lot, just as a whatever rank I am, divine noob. Ancient 5 now, by the way. I'm done with ranked forever. But the coolest one, in my opinion, is the new pull timer. So they've added a pull timer to increase your insight into the extra aspect of lane control. So you can now have a pull timer and a stack timer, and it kind of shows you the direction in which they go, which huge quality of life for people that just don't want to learn this shit, aka me. It's built for me.
And the biggest thing about that one is that the previous pull timers were wrong.
That's true. Yes.
Because the game got changed and they didn't update the timers correctly, I think at least. I feel like some of the timers just didn't line up with what was actually happening. So they were kind of misleading. So to me, that's the bigger thing here. Is just that now they work correctly again.
So this, Cinderin, is this for the Battle Pass, or is it for Dota Plus, or is it both?
Do you mean what it should be or what it currently is?
No, what is it currently? I assume Battle Pass.
I think it's Battle Pass. Yeah,
okay,
I think so.
So there was a bug today in our mod where at 1 minute, exactly 1 minute or beyond, when you hit Alt, your game crashed. Every single time. It was ruining every game. We finally narrowed it down to, it was something to do with neutral camp spawning. Shout out to Shane, by the way. He helped us figure this out. If you had the Battle Pass and Dota Plus, it would crash. If you just have the Battle Pass but no Dota Plus, it would not crash. If you didn't have either, it would not crash.
And if you just had Dota Plus and not the Battle Pass, what then?
We didn't test it, but we assume it crashes. It's Dota Plus.
I would assume it doesn't, actually.
So we disabled neutral camps entirely until Valve... That's literally something Valve has to fix for us to be able to put camps in now, apparently.
I think...
So weird.
So I think what's going on is that they fixed it for regular Dota, but maybe not everywhere in the client. And what it does is there's two conflicting calls, right? One is from the Battle Pass saying, this is what neutral camps are like. And then one is from Dota Plus saying, no, this is what neutral camps are like. And then they can't talk to each other. And then it just throws an error and closes your client. So I would imagine if you have one or the other, it would work. And if you have both, it fails.
So on other custom games, it was working because, like, for example, other games that have just a regular map, like Imba, for example, it's just a regular map, regular neutrals. Ours are custom neutral camps.
Exactly.
So for whatever reason, that fucks it up even more. I don't
know. It's my best guess is that you need to have exactly both for it to crash. You said that was the only version that crashed, right? Was when the player had both.
Yes.
That you tested. Yeah.
Yes.
It sounds like that, I think. But don't know.
Okay. So
it could also just be the Dota Plus.
It could, I mean, not to get into a rant, but there was a bug where we made a custom item called Nokra's Blade. This was like a year ago, okay? And anytime somebody purchased it, they would crash. But certain people wouldn't crash. After literal 3 months of trying to figure this out, we finally boiled it down to, it was if you had Dota Plus, it crashed you. We had to have Valve fix it for us because it was on, like, we can't do anything about that.
What does Dota Plus do with items?
Something with like the recommended, I think it was, or what was it? I don't remember. It wasn't purchasing it. Sorry, it was using the item. If you toggled it on or something like that, it would freeze.
I'm just trying to remember
not only
what
your
Dota
client,
Plus
it would
does
freeze the server entirely. So that was even worse. But anyway, moving on. What do we have next? The Immortal Treasure 1, Cinderin. So we can go through each item if you'd like. We can flip-flop these if you want. So the first one is the Tinker. It's the right arm, has a red laser, very obvious. It also makes it, I mean, I think it's cool, but it makes his left hand look out of place because he wants two of them, which I'm sure they will add in one of these next two treasures. Have you ever seen the meme about somebody that has a really strong right arm and a very skinny left arm?
Yeah.
That's what this looks like. Tinker is a masturbator. Chronic masturbation issues with this Immortal. Yeah. What do you think?
Do you want to rate like every item out of 10? Isn't that what we usually do?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I forgot about that. Sure.
I like it. I think it's cool.
7.5. It's good.
It's a bit harder because there's no like. I feel like a lot of the time cosmetics are, they're cool because of the entirety, like what they're combined with, not just as an individual item. It's a bit harder for me to rate one that just
individual. That's how we have to rate it.
But we have to rate it just for what it is, not what it looks like with other stuff.
Yes.
I'd say
So 5 is just average. It's not bad. It's not good. Just meh.
yeah. I think it's an 8 for me.
Okay.
Probably. I like
All right.
it. It's solid.
I am very interested to hear what you think about this next one. Go ahead.
Yeah. So then we have Night Stalker. It's called Shadow of the Dark Age, and it basically makes his hands into somebody from Blue Man Group, who also joined the X-Men. Basically,
Oh,
I made the joke that
good
this makes him
combination.
look like a character from
Great.
X-Men. So the thing is, I guess it's a bit hard for us to like. We're rating based on the cosmetic plus the in-game effect, right? Because
Do you
it
want to
changes your
separate
spell.
them?
Or do you want to do 2 separate scores?
I don't know. This is up to you,
'Cause
bro. This is
I
up
would
to
have
you.
a pretty separate score for this one, for example, because the
Me as
in-game
well.
effect looks awesome,
Okay.
and then the cosmetic itself is like.
All right, let's
don't
do
know how much I
separate.
like
This
it
will
for
be
Night
more fun
Stalker.
if we do separate. Go ahead.
Okay, so for Tinker, I think then it was 8 for the cosmetic and 8 for the in-game. Actually, let's
Sure.
just say it's the
I'll
same
say
for me.
7.5 for both.
All right. So for Night Stalker, I think the item itself is a 6, and the in-game effect is a 9.
Okay. I will say the cosmetic itself is a 9.5. I love it.
Wow.
And the
Okay.
spell is a 3. I fucking hate it. I think it's like literally one of the
that's
worst
awesome.
effects for any immortal I have ever seen. It looks so fucking stupid. Are you serious? It's garbage. Come on, Cinderin.
Wow.
Jesus.
That is great. I mean,
I
I'm not
hate
thinking
it.
down at all. It's cool that we disagree that much. That just shows that your taste is bad and my taste is good.
Yes, that's what it shows. Next,
All right, let's move on.
Warlock. He's got a headpiece that changes fatal bonds. I think from an item perspective, the item perspective is pretty cool. I'd say 8 out of 10. The effect is 5 out of 10. Very average. Doesn't blow me away. It's whatever.
I actually need to see the effect. Where can I see that? I don't think I
It's
saw that
It's
one.
on the page that we're supposed to be following.
Oh, it's on. I'm watching it in the game. That's why.
Typical Cinderin. Never prepared for the podcast.
Well, I am prepared. I mean, somewhat.
Remember, you guys can follow along with us at dota2.com/international/battlepass. We're going in
I'm
order.
trying to load the page right now. It's not.
I'm
loading,
trying to
so
buy
I can't
time
see.
so we don't look like idiots that aren't
Oh, there it
prepared.
is. All right, so let me find
Warlock.
the Immortals. Immortal.
You can do it.
There. Okay, yeah, I'm there. All right, let me see the Fatal Bonds effect.
Yep.
Waiting for it.
So he has a shadow word now. Does he have what's his other spell called? Not his
That
ult.
Fatal Bonds looks cool, actually. I really like that.
Wow.
I like it. Okay.
Unstable. What is it?
The item itself gets
Upheaval. Thank you.
a 7,
Okay.
and the effect gets an 8, I think.
Wow. Wow, we are all over the place here.
The thing, so I was talking about this on my stream yesterday. You know this thing. I think it's in some African. I think it's an African culture thing where the women put rings around their neck to make their neck longer.
Kenyan.
This is like that, but with a hat. Like, why does it need to be this tall? It makes him look a little bit disproportionate. This hat is huge, man.
Good.
It's so big.
He needs room for his big brain.
I mean,
he's a big boy.
Warlock takes a lot of brains to play, man. There's a lot going on.
Yeah. Okay, next.
I don't know. I mean, it's cool. It's cool because it stands out and it's unique, and I like the horns. But I feel like you could have done this without making it that disproportionate. That's just my 2 cents.
Fair enough.
Would have made it better.
Yeah, be as critical as you want, Cinderin. Life Stealer's next, Cinderin. Go.
I loved that effect actually.
For Life Stealer?
Yeah. When
Well,
he jumps
explain
out
what
of
it
infest,
is.
it looks cool. Yeah. So you infest someone, and then the marker over their head looks different than usual. Actually, it looks like something out of Diablo, to be honest.
It does.
The effect
does
looks
too.
very Diablo-ish. And when you jump out, it also kind of looks Diablo-ish. And I don't mind that because I feel like Lifestealer as a character kind of looks like something out of the Diablo universe. He is very, it's a ghoul. It has that kind of... It's just bloody and gory, I wonder how this looks in the Chinese version, actually. That's a different topic. But...
It's a headpiece, by the way.
Yeah, it's a headpiece that gives him extra, basically like fangs around his mouth.
And a
The
very
item
long tongue.
itself, yeah, as a cosmetic, it's a 6. I think it's okay, but I'm not too big of a sucker for these exact items. The ones that give you like this extra jawline or whatever you want to call it, the
Mm-hmm.
extra jaws. But I really like the effect. The effect gets a 9 for me. I think it looks awesome. Um, yeah,
Okay.
so
So I will give
6
the
and 9 again.
effect. I'll give the effect an 8.5. I think it's quite good. The headpiece itself, if I just in a vacuum looked at it, I would say 6 out of 10. But because there's
Mhm.
another immortal helm that it's taking the place of, and because this is literally looks exactly like the fucking immortal helm of Bloodseeker, has the same facial structure and the huge tongue, I'm gonna have to say 3 out of 10. This is not original at all.
Wow. Okay, that's
I mean, we're
appreciate
trying to
strong
be harsh
statements.
here, you know.
Yeah, that's
Next,
fair.
why did I get this one? Prominence. It's a staff for Caudal. Changes custom blinding light. The staff itself looks decent. I'd say 6.5 out of 10. Of course, I'm biased because I don't like this hero. And the effect itself is subtle. Uh, it's like a 5 out of 10. It doesn't mean it's bad. It's just I don't think you could make this like a crazy looking spell anyway. Maybe it's not a
Mm,
great choice for an immortal, but they are running out of spells. So meh.
yeah, I like the staff. But yeah, it's not like crazy good. It's probably like a 7 for me. And then the effect, it's like when you cast blinding light, to me it looks more like a magnetic pulse actually than a blinding light. Do you know what I mean? When you look at the animation, it's like
Let's
it looks
see.
like a pulse.
Yeah,
The way it like ripples outwards in the waves, to me
looks like time
it doesn't
dilation, right? Very
it
similar
doesn't
effect.
truly fit like how I would imagine a blinding light to go, right? It's like waves rippling outward with the regular blinding light cast, right? It's just like instant. It's just like doof, you
Mm.
know? And I feel like this doesn't truly fit how I imagine that spell. So I'm not really a big fan of the effect. Like in terms of execution of it, it looks fine, but I don't like it conceptually for the spell itself. So it gets a 3 from me, and that's
Okay,
only on the looks. Like
fair
it's
enough.
just yeah. I think blinding light needs to be or should be fast, right? So that's my opinion.
Next,
Yep. Medusa. Medusa gets another tail. So now she has 2 tails. It
split
splits
shot
her
tail.
tail. Similar to Venomancer has a set like that, I think, where he
Does
gets 2 tails, doesn't he?
Maybe.
And then it makes Mystic Snake looks like something from Pac-Man.
Pack. Okay,
So
I could. Yeah, okay.
the cosmetic itself, I think, looks really nice. I like the idea of the split tail. I think they look good, and I like the triangular shapes for Medusa. She is a little bit like the character itself is. I think it fits pretty nicely. It is a little bit like sharp. Like the cosmetics and the character itself is like it's not a very how to say the character just has edges, so I think it looks appealing and it looks like a part of the character. So I like that.
Mm-hmm.
The effect, it's not. It's hard to explain. Like, okay, do you understand what I mean if I say this looks like an effect out of a different game? Like,
Yes.
I mean, I said Pac-Man as a joke, but it looks like something a little bit more League-ish in terms of style.
I
Like,
was gonna make the comparison of Valorant, but yeah,
yeah, or Valorant or
it
Overwatch or
really
something.
does
Like,
look like something
it's
from one of
just
those
it
games.
looks too how
Different
to
art
say.
style.
It's not just the art style, it's also the fact that usually what Dota projectiles and spells do is that they're not perfectly symmetrical and perfectly like rounded or whatever. Like the particle itself that gets thrown out is it's just a perfect movement, right? It doesn't
Mm.
have that distortion that I don't know if that's the right word for it, but a lot of spells in Dota have like things that don't make them look like this. So again, to me the effect doesn't fit the game actually.
Mm-hmm. I get
I
that.
dislike this even more than the Coddle one. I think for me this is like a 1 or a 2. But
Whoa.
the
Okay.
cosmetic itself is nice. The cosmetic is like an 8.5.
Okay.
But that spell effect, man, it rubs me the wrong way, dude. It doesn't look Dota to me. It just doesn't.
No, I completely agree with that take. Having said that, though, I think the item itself, the tail, I don't want to be too hasty here. This might be a 10 out of 10 for me. This is fucking... I'm not even a
It's
Medusa
really
player.
good.
It's
It is
fucking really good. And the animation when the Mystic Snake comes back, it wiggles and it looks really good. The effect, again, I completely agree. Completely out of place in Dota, but I still like
That is unbelievable to hear from you, by the way. Let's just remember how big a statement it is when you think it doesn't fit the game.
It does not
How
fit the
big
game at all, but I still like it. I'm giving it, because it's so different, an 8 out of 10. This spell looks so different than anything you'll find in Dota. It doesn't fit in Dota, shouldn't be in Dota, and that's why I love it, Cinderin. 8 out of 10 on the effect.
I wonder what it would take for you to feel outrage at a cosmetic.
It
would probably be
would
that
you like to know?
it looks too much like the normal one.
No, okay.
That would be.
No, those are just like bad items. Like, I'm not outraged. Like, okay, whatever. I'll tell you one. The Viper set that makes them look like whatever that fucking... Like, it's not only the quality of the set, which is poor textures in my humble opinion. It doesn't make him look like Viper anymore, but it's also fucking hideous. Like, it's like you just vomited a bunch of different colors on a hero and just like, I'm done with this set. Just done. Please, no more. That one is the worst set I've ever seen get into the game, personally. But I know people like it because it's so different. I can respect that. The bonus rare that you're able to get, which I did not, is the Blossom of the Merry Wanderer. It's a puck wings, very prominent, very cool. It affects Dream Coil. I'm going to say the item itself is a 9.5, maybe a 10. Let's just say 10. And the effect is a 9.5. Really fucking good. This is a really cool item for a hero that typically has shit items. Let's be real.
I think there's a little bit of, for me again, there's a little bit, it seems like the art style inspiration, right? It's not like the color scheme or anything, but it's the way the edges of the wings are drawn, right? Or the leaves
cartoony
of the petal.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bit, doesn't it feel that way to you? That this is a
little bit.
It's a little bit too much.
It's not like the Mystic Snake thing, though. That one's super cartoony.
No. This is way, way better. It's a different league, but...
Pun intended.
But it's... I once again feel like it's a little bit... and maybe it's an experiment. Like, maybe they're seeing how it's going to look in the universe if they do take it a little bit more in that direction. But one of the things I've always liked about Dota's art style is that it is not that cartoony. Like, the characters do seem more real or realistic. I mean, it's a video game, okay? But I'm sure you get what I mean by when I say that. It looks like something. And so, I think it's just because it's because the way the characters are drawn and the way the textures are is imperfect, right? It makes the characters look more
Does it have
real.
A certain level of blur to it, perhaps?
I can't give you like the technical word or the exact term for why this one to me looks a little bit off, but it like cartoon is probably the best word I can put on it as well. It's just a little bit too much.
There's a couple other things in the game. Okay, while you're in the game, and if you guys want to open your game as well, the courier that comes with the battle pass, Cinderin, comes with 7 different levels. I believe it's level 4. I want your opinion on that.
The courier itself. I mean, I still need to... Aren't we finishing this first?
Just look at it.
Don't you want to rate the rest of the treasure?
We will. We will rate it. You need to talk. We need to talk about the courier is a cat.
Yeah,
and it comes with 7 different levels, all based on different items. I believe level 4 is a Lotus Orb, similar to this one, I guess, in some respect.
Okay.
Or maybe it's Octarine, actually.
What level do you unlock it?
4, I don't know. You get one right away, so you just need to click it.
Yeah.
And then look at the styles.
Okay, I have it in my armory. And then... Oh, Gem of True Sight style unlock. Oh, there it is. Yeah. Okay.
Level 4.
Yeah. Level 4 has a halo and hearts and flying on a cloud.
The cloud is very cartoony.
Yes.
Very
same story.
Cartoony. Yeah.
It's the same story for me. That's the exact... Yeah, exactly. It's that thing. Yeah, absolutely. Don't like that either. So, you know what the perfect example... Actually, it's within the puck set itself. To me, the petals on the back look too cartoony, but the one in the coil looks Dota. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like if you just look at those two in isolation and nothing else,
Right.
the coil effect looks fucking awesome. I love the coil, and I love the plant that it puts in the middle. For me, the coil effect is a 10 out of 10. Actually, that's just awesome. The cosmetic itself, if it didn't have this cartoony feel to it, I like the concept. I like the colors. So I think I'll give it a 6. And to me, that's high because it doesn't really feel like it completely fits with the shading. But maybe my opinion changes when I play the game a little bit, and it just feels natural. But just from the snapshot of game footage, I would have liked it a bit more Dota-like.
That's fair.
So
the next two are the Night Stalker and the Lifestealer in golden versions, which we don't really need to talk about. And the last one is the bonus ultra rare, the Abscessorator, a right-handed weapon and custom meat hook effect and sound. I didn't hear the sound for Pudge. Thoughts on this one? So this fits perfectly with his Arcana, right?
It looks a lot like Bounty Hunter's Immortal. The claw that he has. I forgot what it's called, but that was the instant thing I thought when I saw this. The one from Bounty Hunter is called...
It's a giant version of that.
Tines of Tibara. I think that's from last year's TI chest, maybe. But anyway. To me, this item looks a little bit pay to lose. I feel like the hook is extremely visible when it's flying out, so you have a higher chance of dodging it. But it is a really cool item. I'm not going to take the sound into account for the rating because I can't hear it on the page, but the effect itself is awesome. The claw looks really cool. So I understand why this got an ultra rare. And the fact that it's for Pudge is possibly a good decision too, because people will really... It's a very iconic spell with an iconic cosmetic, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's attractive to get because it's for Pudge. Yeah. If we just rate it against the game and not against the fact that it's an ultra rare, I think this gets, for me, probably a 9, I think. For the look and for the effect itself of... What exactly is it that changes? Is it when it hits? There's a different... the chain flying out. The chain is different, right?
Yeah,
so that's the effect in the game.
Right. I mean, the effect is the way that the hook looks when you're throwing it out.
Oh, that it's totally like grabbing in the air. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I'll just give it a 9 overall. 9 for both.
I mean, this fits the Arcana perfectly. There's a green version as well, apparently. I would say the model itself is a 9, and I think the animation is a 10. I really fucking like this hook, which I'm never going to get, obviously.
Yeah, you're never going to get.
Okay, so some new additions. Of course, we don't really need to talk about some of the old stuff that they're just bringing back. But some of the new stuff that we don't need to talk about too much. Kill streak effects are pretty cool. It's a nice little quality of life thing where things glow on your portrait at the top once you start going on a kill streak. Ping cosmetics. So like smiley face stuff you can ping. What else?
You can ping Divide.
Oh yeah, that's right. Divide. You can ping.
That's funny. That's good.
So that's a nice little addition.
That's nice. Yeah, that's fun.
And then the consumables, instead of like the shovel and stuff and balloons from the previous years, you don't want to get the shovel confused with the neutral item shovel. So they had to change that.
Yeah.
It's now a portal, which can bring up a bunch of shit. As well as soccer ball replacing the balloon, then a disco ball, and then a hot pepper where you throw it on somebody and they can throw it on you, and then eventually it just blows up in your face, dealing no actual damage, of course. They're all fun.
Yeah.
Not much to talk about. I like them.
Pretty sure the hot pepper will grief games. People start focusing way too much on throwing the pepper back and then they die to smoke. That's great.
Mind games, man. I love it.
Yeah.
All right, so what we're going to do now is talk about the main selling points of the battle pass itself on leveling it. So let's start with level 160, the new terrain called Sanctums of the Divine. This looks really crisp. I like it a lot. I didn't like the last couple terrains they've come out with. I've been using the Monkey King terrain forever because I think it's god tier. This one is putting a run for its money for sure. Very clean. It reminds me of the LC one, but without the pay to win aspect. I love the contrast between Radiant and Dire, and of course there's the artifact logo on the Dire warding cliffs for some fucking reason. I don't know why, but it's funny. I think this is we can rate this too. For me, this is a 9.5 out of 10. If my Monkey King terrain's 10 out of 10, this is 9.5.
I don't know if I can really rate terrains. I've never used one, so
Noob.
I just use the default terrain because it's
think
what
it
I'm
looks
used
cool,
to.
then?
I like the water fountains in the Radiant base.
I
They
like
look
playing
really,
with the
really nice.
water.
Come on. No. Stylistically, it looks really sound. I would agree with you. Like it's clean. I think clean is a great word for it. It looks it's nice to look at. That's what you want, right? So yeah, that's good.
Level 200, you will get living towers, which last year they introduced the custom towers that I have been. So last year, Cinder, I was actually planning not to spend a lot of money on the battle pass. We talked about this, but two things really caught my eye. The first one was the custom towers, which I just had to get. I think that was around the same level 200 or whatever, because I've been waiting for that since Dota 1. Like I love the towers in Dota 1, the tree throwing the fucking rock, and then the axe that I really needed. But
right.
I actually do not like these custom towers at all. I'm not interested in getting them whatsoever. They're like they're the Chinese type dragon. I've just never been into that art style for whatever reason. What are your thoughts? You don't use custom towers either, I'm guessing.
It's not really the look of the tower itself. I don't really like the projectile.
Yeah, the projectile looked weird too. Yeah.
It feels a little bit out of place once again. I feel like I've been saying this a couple of times, but
Goddamn boomer,
as much as I criticize some stuff, some of the stuff is awesome. So I'm not just being a negative Nancy here. It's okay. I don't really care too much about custom towers in general, to be honest with you. And I think these are worse than the last year's ones from my personal preference perspective. But I mean, I don't know. If I have them unlocked, like maybe I'll try to use them and just get used to it. But yeah, not the biggest fan here either.
Okay. Level 255 is a Pudge persona called the Toy Butcher. Do we want to read the lore for all these things that we're about to get to, Cinderin?
If you want.
I mean, this is your call. 100% your call, Cinderin. Make a decision right now.
Let's not.
Okay. So persona for toy, for Pudge, the Toy Butcher. Looks like a Muppet. This is with that ultra rare being in the game now.
Yeah.
It's not out yet, so coming soon. All we see is concept art. It sounds very interesting and cool. It sounds like a Chinese-friendly set as well. I'm guessing there's not going to be blood. It's just going to be like you're filled with cotton or whatever, which is, that could be really cool. I have no idea what to think. This is a crazy sounding one. Keep in mind, you can't use other items, right? Personas are their own separate entities.
Oh, I thought you were going to say you can't use the phrase "it's a bit out of place" for this one.
We're going towards League and Han.
I mean, we don't know what it's going to look like, right? But just like what I'm thinking is exactly what you just said. Like he's going to dismember people and then it's like wool coming out or whatever.
Yeah.
Or something like that. Or he himself is made out of wool. I think for me, the way I will receive or rate this set really depends on not just like Pudge himself, but rather how it makes other heroes look. Because like you can have a set that looks wonky for Pudge, but then the spell animations are still Pudge, But if it gets too, again, cartoony and too soft or whatever, then it's not my cup of tea.
Okay.
But it is absolutely super unique and it will be very different. But at least, like, let's compare it to Kid Invoker, right? Which was also a persona.
You love that voice actor, by the way.
Not a big fan of the voice acting, but in isolation, the spells were the same, right? The way the hero interacted with the environment was the same, and then the character was different, but it was still Invoker, just as a kid version. That's what I kind of hope this Toy Butcher thing is that the Butcher is toy-based, but the spells and the way it interacts with the game are still the same.
Ice Frog, if
it's
you're
a toy
watching,
butcher that still dismembers, okay? It doesn't pull out wool.
Ice Frog, if you're still watching, if you haven't turned it off by now by Cinderin's disgust for your hard work, could you please make sure that the Pudge persona has a kid voice actor, preferably the same one as Invoker? We would really appreciate that. So for Kid Invoker, correct me, is that the only persona, or Is Axe a persona? I don't think so. No, that's just
No, it's not. Oh, it's a cosmetic. Kid Invoker is the only persona we've had.
And his effects, like you said, don't change. So that's a downside of using a persona. So in theory,
well, he's got different orbs, right? But that was it. But they
right.
looked. I didn't mind the orbs. I thought
like,
that was fine.
Do you think like I would want a different, at the very least, a different rot for something like this? Because a normal rot with this set just sounds weird. You know what would be great is if they take those cartoony clouds from the cat courier and make something out of that, Synderen, for you. Okay?
Yeah.
Nice frog?
Yeah.
Okay, so next.
I have no idea if I'm in a minority here, by the way. That's the thing. Like, I literally have no idea what people think about this
the
stuff
Pudge one,
general.
like, I have no idea what to think either. Like, you know me, I love the crazy shit, but I don't know what to think about this until we actually see it in game.
Yeah.
Level 305. My prediction is only 8 years late, Synderen.
Yep.
We have a gender bender. The Disciples Path persona for Anti-Mage. It's a woman. It's Mangina turning into Vagina. Magina.
He was called Magina, not Mangina.
Did I say Mangina?
You said Mangina.
Magina, which everybody loved to refer to AM like that in Dota 1, by the way, in case you guys don't know. That was his original name. Is it Vagina? Like, what's the name?
So what is the lore here?
Read it. You didn't want to read it before for the Pudge.
No, I glanced over at chat and somebody said this is not Anti-Mage.
Yeah,
it's his disciple.
But you could say that for any gender bender.
Yeah, you're going to be playing it as Anti-Mage in the game, right? It's the same character. So, as far I don't remember if we talked about what we thought about this as a concept in the game. I'm not mad at it. Of having different characters be able to be different sexes or genders or whatever. Like I don't mind that.
Okay.
I think as long as the design is good, and this is where I think this is honestly probably the hardest part about rebuilding a character is the voice acting. I think that's where this is going to stand or fall for me, where it needs to still feel like Anti-Mage, right? He has a certain like demeanor and a certain like feel to it. And I hope that they can find a version with that where it still feels like Anti-Mage and not just like, okay, now it's a girl character. You know what I mean? I don't know if I explained that well. I think maybe you know what I mean with this, but
believe it or not, I have a lot of experience with this. Okay. Because I played Heroes of New Earth. Mm-hmm. There were many characters direct from Dota that were just the opposite sex. Lena was a dude. CM was an icicle man. And Juggernaut was a woman, and they were all awesome. I loved every single one of them.
Okay.
Had no issue with it. So I'm not worried about that, and I know that's coming from me that likes crazy stuff.
Do you think it matters that the other character exists, though? Like, in Han, it was like, this is the character, right? Mm-hmm. But it's like, in Dota, Legion Commander comes out, and it's female Legion Commander, and in Dota 1, it was the male riding the horse, Treston, right?
Right.
This is a character that has the other version in the game, so it will be compared to that rather than to a prior game. Right?
Again,
I think that makes it different.
I've played Heroes of New Earth, where they took Lifestealer equivalent, and he became like a similar character in Han, and then they came out with a cosmetic that he became a rabbit. So, and that's probably the best cosmetic of all time. He attacked people with fucking carrots. That was an amazing cosmetic.
I can't fucking take it.
So no problem. We're all good. I'm a little surprised it was AM though. Not gonna lie. I thought they would pick my original prediction, which was like 5 years ago, was Invoker, which would have been great, by the way. Obviously, they're not going to do Juggernaut because Han did that. But AM, a hero that's kind of garbo. People are going to be picking this hero just to play the persona, and it's not a hero that's necessarily good in every game.
I don't really think about, when it comes to cosmetic changes of that, I never really think about, is the hero good in the current meta or whatever. Like, this is going to transcend the current patch, right? So it doesn't really matter to me that much.
Anti-Mage is getting a buff, is what I'm trying to say.
Eventually it will.
Soon.
Anyway, the art style of this is cool. I really like that's the first good thing about this for me, is that this feels like Anti-Mage when I look at the art. That's why that's already a thumbs up for me. And then I just hope the voice acting goes with it. But to me, it really looks like an anti-mage kind of character. So that's nice. Like you could imagine you could have made it a lot softer or like more sexualized or whatever you would, right? If you were a different game, you would make it more sexualized, this character. But it really...
What would you do?
to
Make
me,
her
looks
vagina
like
bigger? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, Shannon, exactly. That is
The
exactly what I
void.
would do.
The mana void is her vagina. All right, let's move on.
I fucking hate you. That is so bad.
Sorry, I had to. Moving on, we have at level 375 the one true king.
Thanks to our Patreons for letting us do this every week.
Yeah, thanks for all the sponsors. Fucking companies not sponsoring us. Wraith King Arcana, the one true king. He is back, Cinderin. Skeleton King. I'm not sure how this works in China. Probably just doesn't sell there, I suppose.
Haven't you seen it? There's a Chinese version.
Is
You
there?
didn't see the screenshot?
Do they just cover his face, or?
He has a helm. The Chinese one actually looks fucking awesome. Not gonna lie, it actually looks really good too.
Okay, now I want to see this.
In a way, I kind of hope it becomes an alternate style as well that you can choose to play on the Western client, because I think I might want to play that one.
Really?
Too.
Wait, can you just enable it, or how does that work?
No, if they were to enable it, that would be cool. Like you
Oh.
gave the player the choice to play the Chinese one. I think the Chinese one looks really cool too. But yeah, I mean, obviously pretty awesome, right? You take something that people had 6 years ago and now you pay for it, and people are celebrating that. Who in the world does that? Who in the world can do this apart from Valve?
Midas mode. This was.
Well,
I actually
yeah.
don't remember. I don't remember who came out with it, but we put Skeleton King on the market for people to bid on or something like that. But I don't think it ever got in. So yeah, it comes with custom animation and effects. The ult is the one that I've seen is totally different. Looks awesome, which harkens back to old days from the Dota Cinema Ultimate Chest. I don't know if you remember that one, Cinderin, where we changed a bunch of effects before effects were a thing.
Yeah.
And the next, like, we did half of it, and we were planning to do the next half, but we just never did. One of them was Wraith King, and I wanted to change his ult to be a cooler looking tombstone, because I always thought he just has basic ass tombstone. It just didn't fit. So really cool to see that. And there's two styles. The second one is very fiery. Is this the one where it's unlockable if you get 100 unique hero kills? I think so. Yeah, there it is. So it's if you kill. This is so one of the big issues I've had with Arcanas lately is they're very difficult to level up to unlock the second style. This one feels more fun and interactive to me. Essentially, you just need to kill 100 of the 119 heroes in the game. I'm not sure if you have to win. That's what I'm not sure about.
Probably.
But I like this one in theory a lot more than the recent ones. So not sure how long that'll take, but it's cool. I like it.
All right, Shannon, here is... Wait, no, this can't be it. All right, never mind. I thought I just found the Chinese Wraith King, but I don't think I did. Have you found it yet?
I haven't even searched for it, so...
Doesn't matter. Okay. Well,
Thanks
the Chinese one also looks cool. So, anyway.
I mean, the original Wraith King...
Oh, somebody linked it in
cool.
chat. Dop linked it. You can open it now. I think that looks boss. It looks like something out of Dark Souls. That's fucking awesome, dude. That set looks really good.
Yeah, that looks cool.
I mean, it's not really skeleton-y, right? So
Yeah.
if you can get past that point that it's you just
it
don't
might as
consider
well
a
be Wraith
skeleton
King,
set,
though.
but you just right. You just consider it a set for Wraith King. If you think of it that way, it looks really nice.
Right.
Actually, I love that set. It's super good.
So that is for level 375. Have we been rating these? Oh, wait, that was the first one that we've seen, right? The other ones are just concepts.
Yeah, they're
What would you rate
concepts.
this? Overall, just one score.
I know it's hard to rate.
It is. I mean, it's not exactly the same as the old model. It's definitely been retouched. It looks higher quality than the old Skeleton King.
I would rate it really high if he was like driving around in his throne in lane like a wheelchair and just hitting out of that. If the throne just went with him everywhere.
Well, this isn't a fear set, so the old man concept is not quite there.
I mean, it's a good execution. I'm trying to think about how Skeleton King looked early on in... Wait, he was in Dota 2 for how long?
At least 3 years.
Yeah.
2 years, maybe.
How does this look compared to the original?
It's a skeleton. It's going to be pretty similar. I think the facial structure is different with the...
yeah.
The jawline is more protruded. But Okay, I'll give my score then. I would give it. I mean,
Okay.
I wouldn't say this is a crazy Arcana, just because it's kind of, it's going to sound negative. It's taking, what's the best way to put this in? It's not unique.
Okay.
It's trying to be nostalgic,
Right.
right? Which I look at as, it could be a positive thing for sure, but if you're rating it as an Arcana, let's be real, this isn't that crazy of an Arcana.
Pretty
So
cool sword though.
I'd say 6.5. It's good. I like it.
Okay. Yeah. What do you think about the second style?
The second style is, yeah, that's much better. Just because I like glowing.
That's not
things.
a 6.5 for you, I'm pretty sure.
That's maybe an 8.
Okay.
It's pretty cool. Very
I think
glowy.
that's a relatively fair verdict. I'm ballparking that too, I would say.
Okay.
But let's see when it makes into the game. I think the sword is really nice, though. I like that a lot.
At level 445, coming soon, is another Arcana, the Eminence of Ristul, Queen of Pain, which I was saying this on stream earlier. Did you watch? I think we actually talked about this. The trailer to Diablo 4, or the teaser.
I have watched the I've watched
so at the end, Lilith is shown, and it just reminds me of this. It looks fucking really sick. Obviously just concept art, but it looks really good. What do you think?
This is probably my favorite concept art for any hero ever in Dota. I think.
Yeah, it's really
this is fucking awesome. It is so good. I actually think that's the most standout thing for me about this battle pass so far compared to previous years. I think the most standout thing is the artwork. The artwork has been so fucking good. I think this looks awesome, and I just hope it translates really well into the game. I don't know if they have a new artist working on this, or if the other artists just like went Super Saiyan or something. But this is Super Saiyan, however you say it. It's so good, this concept art.
Well, I know that Valve a lot. I don't know how much they did, but they outsource a lot of art for sure. Not sure which ones they focus on. But yeah, it looks really good. Looking forward to that. Also, a very highly played hero.
The concept art is 10 out of 10 for me. So if it translates into a set in the game that's like this, it's a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, I would say 10 out of 10 as well, just for concept. What do you think they're going to change? Arcanas change one ability typically, right?
Yeah.
I would say ult. Has to be ult. Ult looks so garbage.
I actually think it might have to be Shadow Strike, because if her weapon is a whip, as it looks like it will be, right?
Oh, I didn't even. I literally did not notice that till you just said that. That's hilarious.
Yeah. And it looks awesome.
She's
such
true
a fucking good one.
It's true succubus here.
Yeah, it's really nice. I'm gonna guess Shadow Strike because of that, because of the whip.
Okay.
But
yeah, you're probably right.
That would be my guess.
Okay. And then the final thing we will talk about is level 575, Wind Ranger Arcana. That's 3 Arcanas in this battle pass. The Compass of the Rising Gale. This one kind of more up in the air. The arms and legs are wrapped in like white linen cloth. I don't know what it is. Something.
To me they're basically, what was the name of the set again? To me they're Gale. That's what they are. This is Gale. It's literally wind. Her legs are like morphing into wind. I didn't see it as cloth at all.
That's the wheelchair you were waiting for then. Okay, we got it.
I didn't see this as cloth, to be honest. I saw it as like a wind animation, actually.
Fair enough.
But I can see why you would consider that cloth, because there are like, it does a bit look like a cast in some spots, I guess. But this, to me, is just another amazing concept art. This is obviously, I think this is less accurate for how the set's going to look in the game, right? Because this is obviously it's a different art style. Like Queen of Pain is way more, how to say, it's way more finished in how it would look as a character in the game, whereas this, just the art style, it's just beautiful. Like,
I mean, you never know.
Good. Again,
Synderen, we just talked about how there's a bunch of stuff in game that looks very cartoony. This actually could look like the cape.
Maybe
could be the cartoony type cape. Legitimately,
it will not look like this.
Everyone, remember this. Remember this moment.
I just don't see it. Like you know what I mean when I say this cape is not finished for 3D in the game, right? Like it's so.
But neither are some of the things we talked about. It's literally the exact same thing.
Is it though?
Yes.
Do you feel like this and the cloud and the puck thing are the same? I feel like this is even less
I
than
mean,
those two.
you can argue that it's more hardcore in that department, more on one side of the spectrum, but it's the same concept. That's what I'm trying
I
to
could
say.
easily see her hair and her face and the legs end up like this in the game. I could see that, but I don't think the cape. I think the cape will look different, but a lot of parts. Again, dude, the concept art is so good. The Wraith King, all of them, all the concept art is insane.
All right, so
It's fucking sick.
let's summarize the battle pass,
Super
what we
excited
think
for
of
that.
it overall,
Right.
and then talk about pricing, because that's the next topic before we get onto the regular podcast stuff. Hopefully we make it into 2 hours here. What do you think of the battle pass?
It would be easier to give a judgment if it came out like 2 days earlier, so we had a little bit more time to play it before making this podcast. Like, I literally played one game last night, and that's all I played because I had to spend 2.5 hours to try to get the battle pass, right? So,
Yeah.
like, just gut feeling is kind of similar to last year, I would say, for me, where to me the big cool things are the Arcanas, and this time around it's the Queen of Pain that really catches my eye, and then the Wind Ranger too. And they're the two most expensive ones, so probably not a coincidence there. Aim Arcana, I like the idea. I think it's a cool character they chose. Like I said, the artwork for it is nice, so I hope they pull through with that. And to me, those are the biggest things. The treasures, question mark, right? We don't know how Treasure 2 and Treasure 3 are going to be. Quality of life, the guild thing, I think could be a really big, good step for the game if they keep maintaining it. Wink, wink. And that the functionality is there and that it incentivizes people to play more together and work toward secondary goals in the games, which can make it a lot more fun to play like a mini game within the game, basically, as long as you're playing to win, right?
Yeah.
So all in all, thumbs up. I'm trying to think about if it's better than last year, because last year was a bigger difference from the previous year. You know what I mean? Like it felt like a bigger upgrade. From TI8 to TI9 was a bigger upgrade than TI9 to TI10. But I would still say, yeah, it's probably on par with last year, which I thought was very good. So
I think
just please deliver on these Arcanas and make them good. Then
I think part of it is expectations, what our expectations were and are. So that's kind of hard to judge, like comparing them, because if you look at it on paper, this is better than last year's because there's more Arcanas. But and obviously, I think in terms of any game that I've played, this is the
more?
most. This is what, more Arcanas? Yeah, absolutely.
What was there last year? Shaker, Tiny. Tiny wasn't technically an
Tiny
Arcana.
was
I guess.
like a, what was that called? A started with a P. Prismatic.
Prestige.
No. Prestige item. Yeah.
And then what was the third one? Axe's thing.
Was Axe an Arcana? That was not an Arcana though.
No, so there was only one Arcana.
I think so.
Which was the Shaker. Okay, yeah.
And then they
had prestige items, and this time they have flat out 3 Arcanas. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. They have 3 Arcanas, and how many personas? 2 personas instead of 1. So on paper, this is more stuff, right? And I think in terms of, when you compare this to other games, like in terms of games that I've played, this is by far not even remotely close to the most robust battle pass in any game I've played. Some stuff they scrapped, like the coaching system. The funny, I have a theory, by the way. So the coaching system, which I thought was kind of cool when it came out, but nobody really used it. I have a theory that has no basis in reality that it was part of this battle pass, but then they saw the Reddit thread 2 days ago and they're like, oh, guess they don't want the coaching system, because there's no reason not to put it in, right? There's literally no reason not to put it in, but that's another story. Overall, yeah, a lot of cool stuff. Obviously, the stuff that has carried over from year after year, they've just improved on in a lot of ways. The personas sound cool. The Arcanas sound cool. Most of them aren't really heroes that I play necessarily. This is why I want to segue now into the money. It is my opinion, and we can do the math here. You're the math genius of the two of us. It is becoming
genius.
Less and less value to buy a battle pass. Not only from the leveling perspective, which we kind of touched on earlier, but in the first 100 levels, which is $45, you don't really get very much in terms of like the big stuff that you would want to get. Right. And I think it's obviously a calculated decision by Valve because they need to beat last year's prize pool, which we don't agree with that mentality, but we understand it at the same time. And then for every 24 levels after that, you spend $10. So can we put a number on how much each respective thing that we talked about costs, like the big ticket items?
I mean, I think before we do that, I just want to say I think the best way for me to map out this battle pass is I would draw it like a bell curve. Actually, I think that's pretty accurate for what is cool. Like, there's so much really awesome stuff happening around level 250 to 600, and then on the other sides of it is like, there isn't that much to really go wow about. Although, I mean, there's a lot of the basic functionality in the battle pass in the guilds that definitely holds inherent value. But I think if you compare getting a level 1 battle pass to a level 100 battle pass, like the extra added price for the level 100 battle pass and what you get there, I would agree with you, isn't that big. So I think the people that get the level 100 battle pass do it with the intention of unlocking the bigger stuff, and then they just get a discount, basically. I don't think there's going to be a lot of people buying a level 100 battle pass and being like, this is what I'm going to spend on this year's battle pass. I buy the level 100 and then I play. I think if you do that, you want to get the big stuff. And we don't know exactly how many levels you're going to get from guilds, but I would be very shocked if you could buy a level 100 battle pass and reach even level 300 through play only.
Oh, that would be, that
would be very surprising if you could get that far. So yeah, if you want to look at it, let's just say you only buy levels. That's all you do. And you want to get Wind Ranger. You need to buy... wait, what did I just do? There we are. Okay. Let me calculate this. So you buy 100 levels for 45. And then you need... How many levels do you need to get? You need to get 475 levels, right?
On top of the 100, yeah.
Yeah. That is 20 packs. So it's $200.
Okay.
So $245, and you have all of the Arcanas, all of this stuff. The only thing that's big that you don't have is the Aegis Replica and the Roshan. So 240.
And there's that is particle effect for attacks, technically somewhere in there as well.
Yeah. I mainly focus on, when it comes to like the value for me in this stuff, I think the stuff that has the most inherent value is what stays when it's over. So the Personas, the Arcanas is what I will mainly put my value in, because they are timeless, right? So is the Aegis Replica. Yeah. So that is if you don't play at all, then it's 240 to unlock these things. If you do play, you could probably push it down under 200. You could probably push it down maybe even to like 150 would be my guess, something like that ish. If you play the game quite a lot and you are strategic with wagering and strategic with doing guild stuff, if the custom mode gives good battle pass points, then maybe something like that. And compared to last year, I don't know how much it was. It was like similar. Last year's battle pass for me was also similar to like a bell curve, and there was so much cool stuff happening again around level 300 with like the Shaker, the Tiny, the Axe. Similar story. They're obviously doing this for a very good reason. Like, they have data suggesting that people want this stuff around this range. So yeah, I mean, looks good. I just want this Quap and this Wind Raider Arcana to be awesome. That's all I can say. I really want them. And the artwork gets me excited. So
yeah, I mean, a lot of the rating on the Battle Pass hinges on how good those items are, because those are literally the reason that you buy this stuff. But like, I'm just looking from my perspective. I don't play that much regular Dota anymore since I've been working on the mod so much, and I really don't like this patch right now. It's actually, I was thinking about it. From both a watching pro games and playing perspective, I don't think I've ever been this apathetic about a patch. Apathetic meaning I just don't want to play at all. Like, I just play the custom games, basically, for now. So, from a money perspective, this is pretty fucking bad value. I mean, let's be real. Really bad. Like, an Arcana is $35 normally. So, if you want, like, the Pudge Persona, how much is level 255? That is, I can't do the math in my head right now. It's like 100 something.
Yeah,
you're essentially spending
about 100.
100 something for the Arcana. So let's take 35 out of that. So that rest, that $70-ish that you're spending for the rest, I don't care that much about, because I'm not going to be using a lot of it, right? Because I'm not playing that much. But I'm in my own special circumstance.
Very hopefully, hopefully, something happens with the patch that gets people more excited to play.
Yes, that would
Because
be
I do
nice.
think at the core of the game, you still need to remember, like, putting in all of this cool functionality with guilds and everything still really depends on the game at its core being fun to play, right? You can't just sugarcoat it with all kinds of rewards. If it's not fun to play in essence, then people won't want to push for those rewards. So if the patch right now is criticized a lot for being flat and not very interesting, then obviously something has to be done about it. And I'm kind of in the same boat, and I can't exactly tell you why. But right now, for me, playing pub games, this has nothing to do with matchmaking. It's just the game itself doesn't feel so good right now as it has before. And I think it's pretty natural that it happens because we've had these like huge transitions where we're trying to really reward teams for getting ahead and not throwing leads easily compared to before. So the feeling of comeback and pulling off comebacks is harder, and more games feel decided earlier, and you're just in it for the ride until it ends, right? I think that is the thing that's wearing people down a bit. So you need to find the right balance between, okay, well, should it be easier to come back, or should it be harder to get ahead? Whichever one of those you choose is.
And I don't want to get into a whole thing about the patch again, but I'm just going to finish my thoughts with it's not only in addition to some of that, but I'm really surprised I'm going to say this because I liked it initially. I don't think I like the outposts at all. Feels too Heroes of the Stormy, which at the time I was making fun of it, but I still liked it. But the more I played, I'm like, I don't know, it just feels stale. I don't know why. Like you can probably dissect it better than me, but
I still would just like. I would love to see a patch without forced objectives, just to try it. But they're obviously not just going to do that for like 2 weeks and be like, "Hey guys, let's try Dota without bounty runes and outposts." But
replace the other outposts with a second Roshan, his sister, new lore, Rochette. Okay. She has a bow on her head. That's the only way you can distinguish her. She has different abilities.
And she looks like female anti-mage.
Yes, it's a persona. Anyway, let's move on to other topics, Cinderin. But overall, I think the Battle Pass was really well executed, especially the fact that Valve had to do it from home. Pretty impressive. Super polished. Very bad value, in my opinion. Like, very bad value in terms of, like, if you want one Arcana, it's very expensive. So that I feel like they could have maybe skewed a little bit more in the cheaper department, but
I don't.
They have the stats.
Like, what did they do last year? Was there a really good value before 300 then?
I mean, the tiny prestige thing
wasn't that also at like 250 or something? Was it?
I don't know.
I feel like all of the really cool stuff was 200 to 500 ish. I think 250. Either way. But I do feel like this line of argumentation that if you want one Arcana is bad value, I feel like that's such a small fraction of people that will literally only want to go for the Wraith King and then not also the Quap when it's a 70 level difference. Like if you're in that range already, I think you push for at least those two. And then the Windrunner is pretty far up.
That's the issue though, that you have to be that high to begin with. You know?
Yeah, I mean, that's
you
fair.
can sprinkle one in early and just say, hey, for all you poor people that don't want to spend money like me, I don't want to spend fucking $300. Like, that's ridiculous. I think that's actually ridiculous.
I get that, but yeah, it's definitely clear that the value comes in bulk here. Just like one spot where all the really good value is.
It is true. It is true.
So yeah.
Okay, moving on. Evil Geniuses reveals a new logo. Remember when we talked about their original change of logos? They said they're working on another logo. They were already working on it. That was literally 6 months ago, I believe. They revealed it, and it got semi-shit on. Maybe not as hard as the original one. Where you can tell it's basically a take on the old one, the original. What do you think of the new EG logo, Cinderin?
I think after somebody pointed out in the Reddit thread that it looks like 69, I cannot unsee that ever again.
Yeah.
That is what I think.
So there's another one.
I think they did not think about that.
There's another one they didn't think about that I don't know if you saw this comment. It is almost identical to the Origin logo. Can you please Google the Origin logo?
Yeah, I think I saw that too.
It's almost exactly the same, minus the fact that it's white instead of orange and the split. It's actually so crazy how similar they are, which they also missed. I like the logo, though. Actually, it's not that bad. even though it's
Yeah.
almost identical to the Origin logo. But
It's
I
better
like
than the previous one, but again, I don't think they should have ever changed it. I think the original logo was the best.
yeah,
Still,
well,
like
that's
this is
another
better
story.
than the evil geniuses written out, but I liked the original logo and the original
Remember,
colors
Cinderin,
more.
live
So,
evil. Okay,
yeah,
and they don't
live
share
evil
the
with
E.
69.
Live evil, 69.
No
Get
scope.
stuck on cliffs. There's a lot of memes with them right now. Let's briefly take literally less than a minute to talk about Artifact. A video was leaked close to a week ago, actually, showing some gameplay, which I was very excited about.
Yep.
And they announced that. Did we talk about this last week? I can't remember. But either way, today the official open beta closed beta for Artifact is quote unquote out by invite only. And
Oh wait, how do you
it's
know if you got
random.
invited? You got an email, right?
Yes, check your emails.
Oh fuck! It
Let's
would have
do
been the best if I had one and you didn't.
I wouldn't have believed
oh my
you,
god!
honestly. I wouldn't have believed you.
I wouldn't let it go.
But yeah, the closed beta, I guess is the best of 2.0, is out. I saw 4 people streaming it to a total of maximum I saw was like 500 something viewers total.
That's
And
a 10,000% increase. That's pretty good for a
that's
beta.
true. And then I checked before the podcast, and there was one person streaming it to very little viewers, and it was actually the original Artifact, not 2.0 at all. Not sure how many people actually have access to this thing. But 2 things. First thing, I don't think that the Artifact team talks to the Dota team. Not sure why we would release this on the same day as the Battle Pass. Just saying. That's kind of weird. And then from my personal standpoint, obviously I was very disappointed that I wasn't. It's completely random, so they're not playing favorites, supposedly.
Yeah.
But not going to lie, Senator, I was actually pretty upset. But now that I've had a few hours to cool off and take a walk, I'm just sad.
No, you're not so entitled anymore.
Yeah, I'm not mad anymore. I'm not gonna lie. This is the one thing that I bring to the table that I hope people appreciate, is that I am super transparent with my feelings. Sometimes I can't say things that I want to because it would be bad to do that for my career. But in this instance, I'm being like, I was legitimately upset, and I don't get upset over this kind of stuff very often. But now I'm honestly not upset. I'm just a little sad. So it is
Not upset, just sad.
Yeah, it's the different stages of grief, I believe. Starts with being enraged, and now you're just curled up in a fetal position in the corner of your bathroom, just sick to your stomach. So we'll see once more people get access to it. There's tons of cards. There's not any point in even going over it because I didn't really watch that much. Next thing, Valorant release date has been announced. So the beta, which is currently ongoing, will end on May 28th, and then they will be completely offline. No one will be able to play until June 2nd. They will relaunch it without ranked. They will reset all your progress, which, by the way, that sucks dick. Big time. That really sucks dick, by the way. Dick. Horrible move. I actually hate a lot of the stuff that... The game is amazing, but we've talked about this before. The fact that you have to unlock heroes and stuff like that, it's very annoying. But the release date will come with a new game mode, which hasn't really been... That might be a little bit later, actually. They haven't been super clear. A new map, which is sorely needed because Split is a shit show. The other 2 are good, though. And a new agent, which has only been referred to from the codename Vampire. So, looking forward to that. I know you have a lot of interesting things to say about Valorant, knowing that you've played quite a bit now, right?
Yeah. I still don't have a key. So
okay, thanks for contributing as always.
Yep.
The next thing on the list, Cinder, and this one I'll let you talk about since you probably have some expertise in the field. Magic the Gathering. This is really interesting. So Magic the Gathering banned a player. I'm not sure for how long. It might be indefinite. Not 100% clear on that. A guy named Austin Bursavich. So essentially what happened, to my understanding, is somebody was privy to knowledge about some upcoming content or cards or a set for Magic the Gathering, and they were
Right.
under NDA. That person that was under NDA shared that information with this guy who is not under NDA, and this guy leaked it. Okay.
Mhm.
This guy would not give up the name of the person that gave him the information to begin with, and thus has been banned himself. What do you think about this? Very interesting situation.
I mean, very honorable that he didn't give up the original guy's name,
Yeah.
right? I mean, at least that's good. I mean, there's not very much honorable stuff in leaking though, so that's kind of a silver lining. I don't know. I'm not sure what you're hoping for as an answer here. I mean, it's obviously leaking stuff like this that's supposed to be NDA is bad. So the guy telling other people is making a mistake, and then the person going public with it and leaking stuff is extra bad, clearly.
So apparently, I'm not going to pretend to know everything. Chat's keeping us informed right now. He didn't leak cards. He leaked tournament changes,
okay.
like format changes or something to that effect.
I just until right now I have not heard about this, so I don't really follow Magic.
That's fine. We can just talk about the general concept of this.
Like the concept of somebody under NDA sharing stuff with somebody not under NDA, and then said player sharing it publicly. Who should be punished? Or, I mean, if they knew who the original leaker was, he should be punished too, right? I still feel like indefinitely. Was that the ban you said?
I don't know. I
don't like indefinite bans, if that's what it is. I don't like those punishments. I don't like it in Dota either, but it is what it is. I like to give people the chance to better themselves and a second chance, right? But that's a different story. Yeah, there isn't much to say, right? It's bad for the competitive integrity if something like this gets leaked.
I actually have a different take. I've been involved in, I'm not going to say the scenario, but I've been involved in a similar scenario. So I think the person that's under, we don't know the rules of the NDA, okay? I'm not going to pretend that we know the details. Let's just assume it's an ironclad NDA. A lot of people do not take NDA seriously, which I think is an issue. A lot of people don't take contracts within esports seriously. Also an issue. So the person that leaked the information that is under NDA, whoever that is, even if they don't know who it is, in theory, that person should be punished. 100% agree. If you're privy to information, whether you know about it or not being private, because we're not 100% clear on that, I don't think it matters. Leaking that information could be considered immoral, but the fact that he can be punished, I find utterly ridiculous because he's not fucking under NDA. That's so stupid. It's the entire point of the NDA is to punish the person that's under it. It's not an extension to the entire populace of the fucking world. I think the entire concept of that is really stupid, and it's a slippery slope.
Right, so now I'm confused. So the guy who got punished was not under NDA,
right?
But the guy who gave him the information was under NDA, and that's correct, right? That's confirmed. That is.
And they don't know. No, they don't know who that is.
They still don't know who the original guy who was under NDA is.
Right.
So what exactly do you think is ridiculous? That the guy who's not under NDA got punished?
Yes.
Okay.
That's what I think.
Because basically, by that point, whoever's under NDA can leak to their spouse. Like, that's a bad example because then people might know who they are, right? But you get the idea. Like, you could, if there's somebody you really trust as somebody under NDA, you could just tell that person that you really trust and they can leak it freely and none of you gets punished. Doesn't that also sound a bit weird? That you could just do that?
I mean, you can
like,
scan
what's the point
system.
of the NDA
so,
then? You could just find literally any friend you have that you can trust and they can leak it. As long as people don't know it's your friend.
According to chat, which we're going to assume is correct at this point, he's being punished not for leaking the information, but for not giving up who leaked the information, which I still stand by what I said. I mean, no one's going to snitch.
I just don't get the point of the NDA if you can literally talk to any friend of yours that people don't know is your friend and they can leak it and that's just the end of it. So, oh, well, it got leaked. Like, does NDAs do they have any power then at all at that point? I don't know.
Well,
I mean, maybe you could do it anyway. I guess, right? Like, let's say I got access to Dota information that I was under NDA for, and I just told a friend of mine, "Hey, man, go leak this stuff." They'd be like, "Okay, sure. I mean, I don't care. I don't even play Dota."
I mean, but
then how would people trace it back to me anyway?
Theoretically, there's no proof that they even knew it was private information, right? So I don't want to bring up the exact scenario that I personally went through, but apparently there was information being leaked from a source to somebody that I knew. They told me, and I didn't know that it was private information, and I just talked about it publicly. I don't see a problem with that. And then somebody comes to me and says, "Who told you this?" I'm not going to say anything. Why would I? I wouldn't give up that person. That's a matter of principle, though. I understand that some people would not agree with that. So it's a gray area.
So I'm trying to understand what your conclusion is here. You think the guy getting punished is wrong?
What?
Like, not the original NDA guy, the guy who leaked this stuff and got banned. You think he should not have been banned?
Correct.
That's your point here. Okay. Right. Yeah.
I mean, if you want to take the NDA seriously, you take that guy to court and find out under oath who the leaker is. Then you have the information. I feel like
it's not a black and white issue for me. I don't know. It doesn't feel like that simple and like that simple. It feels like it's simple to leak stuff. It feels easy to leak stuff. That's the point. Like, if there's no, like with the example I just said, I sign an NDA. I tell a friend of mine that people don't know is my friend. He goes and leaks shit, and there's zero consequences for either of us. That feels like then nobody is taking a risk. Then what's the point of the NDA to begin with? Anybody can just leak shit. Well, you can't trace it back to me anyway.
Yeah, there's a slippery slope on both sides, I think. But it's funny because
so then the question is, like, do they even matter?
Right.
I don't know.
I mean, there's ways. Anyway, we can go into this forever. But I thought it was an interesting thing that came up.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's something to think about. I haven't really thought about it like this before. But
in terms of public perception, they're getting shit on real hard. People are backing this guy up, which I guess is not too big of a surprise. So, okay, a couple more things. Epic Games Store. This is more of a PSA because this is really cool. Epic Games Store is offering Civilization 6, which I believe, other than expansions, is the latest Civilization. Came out, I want to say, a year and a half ago or something like that. For free, if you get the Epic Games client, which is also free. I think it expires in a couple days, but once you have it forever. So I literally downloaded it myself. Civilization's a fucking amazing series. There's no reason not to do this unless you already have it. This is a cool way to incentivize people to download the launcher.
Yeah.
I mean, I know Steam has a bunch of sales and whatnot, and occasionally do something similar to this, but I don't remember one on this scale of a major franchise.
Pretty crazy that that's free.
And it's not an older game. That's when I first read it, I'm like, is this the one that came? Like, is this the second to last one? But no, it's Civilization 6. So pretty cool.
They also gave away GTA 5.
Is that
apparently?
What's the latest GTA? I have not kept up on that.
I think GTA 5 is actually a bigger title by far than Civ 6.
Yeah,
in terms of overall player base, I believe. So we just didn't see the news about that when it happened, I guess.
Oh, 5
I hadn't heard about that until now. I didn't know they did it.
Okay. That's pretty cool. Very cool. I missed out on that. Damn it.
That is pretty insane value if you consider the amount of people that do this and download it and just get it. This has to cost Epic a lot of money. So It's a really big PR move here. And they're investing big time in competing with Steam here. This is not cheap to do. It costs many millions.
And whether you like Epic or not, this is good for everyone. More competition, the better.
Yeah.
Yes.
What people do, sorry, Shannon, very quickly, there's tons of people that get this game because it's free and then end up not playing it. And that means they would have never bought it to begin with. Yeah. Like, not a chance. They would have never ended up buying it. It's just because, there's a popular game that's free. Let me download it. And then you never even open it. But it should cost Epic money, right? Because now it got downloaded for free. They kind of have to foot the bill, right? So it's a big move.
It's a good
I wonder
PR
how much
move.
it cost them. I really wonder what it cost them.
I don't know.
It's cool,
I'm sure quite a pretty
cool
penny. The final thing, which kind of harkens on, or kind of takes us back to last week's shit show of an ending of a podcast that we had where we made some amazing predictions. The world record for internet speed was achieved in Australia. They reached 40. I hate the system, by the way. I'm going to talk about that in a second. They reached 44.2 terabits per second, which is equivalent to 1,000 HD movies in a second. course, HD, I mean, that could mean anything, honestly. It could be low bitrate. It's not very specific, but there was a quote in the article that says, I'd guess that we see devices like ours available to research labs in 2 to 3 years and initial commercial use in about 5 years. In my experience, that's probably a decade away. It's always like way later. I really hate the bits a lot. If as a tech, I'm trying to remember how you do this. I believe you divide by 8.
Yeah, 8 bits in a byte.
And then you get what you would normally call a megabyte or a terabyte. So what is 44.2 divided by 8, Cinderin?
About 5.6.
Let me do this real quick. Divided by 8. So 5.5. Is that actually right? 5.5 terabytes per second. Is that right?
Yep.
That is
factor 8.
That is kind of absurd. I don't know how real this is for like the 5 to 10 years, but
if you think about gigabit internet, it's gigabit internet times 1,000, right? It's a factor 1,000 basically on top of that. So, or a factor 40,000 if it's 1 gigabit to 44 terabits. Right?
And that's internet speed. This is not like transfer from hard drive or SSD to SSD or some shit like that. This is internet speed. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of bottlenecks, but still, that is in and of itself, in a vacuum, ridiculously impressive. And they need it in Australia. Let's be real. They've been begging for internet infrastructure for a long time. So cool to see. Okay. Patreon mailbag, Sindren, we will finish up with. I'll let you take the question.
Yep. We're back to Dota here. This question is from Anna. Probably not the real Anna. I think he knows the answer to this, but, thanks for your question, Anna. Hey there, thanks for the great podcast. I wanted to ask a very interesting and important question. Okay, don't preface your question with, my question is very interesting. Okay.
Very interesting.
How does personal hardware preference work at professional LAN tournaments? Different pro players use different hardware, as in keyboards and mouse, or keyboards and mice. Can they actually use them at the LAN? Wouldn't there be issues with drivers since plug and play doesn't always work? What about auto execs? I read on Reddit that supposedly many pro players use those, but wouldn't that be bad if you can't use them at LANs and have to play with different settings then? Thanks. So the way it works at Dota LANs is you bring your own hardware, and we always play on Windows computers or whatever, so people can genuinely relatively easily replicate their settings. Usually you arrive at LAN events like 1 to 2 days or 3 days, even 4 days before the tournament starts. So you get time to get accustomed to the environment, to the time zone, to the computers, tweak your settings, get everything to feel comfortable for you. But you absolutely use your own gear. As far as auto execs go, I haven't heard about them not being usable on LAN. I think any auto exec you have that runs in Dota is allowed. It's just about changing some settings, so you don't have to do it every time you boot the game. That's basically what the auto exec does. And from personal experience, the strictest gear policy that I have seen was at TI. I think they still do this. When you get to TI, you have to bring 2 sets of gear to TI. You hand in 1 set of your gear to Valve, and they keep it so that you can't modify it. And this will be, and so that they know that your gear is always there for when you have to play. So your set of gear will be taken by Valve, and your second set of gear you use for practice in the practice room. So your tournament gear set goes with them, and they plug it in and they set it all up, and you make sure, like there's basically a test day where you plug in your gear, you're like, okay, these are the settings I want, and then they save it. You get your own personal SSD that the settings are saved on. And then when you go on stage, they load in all of your SSDs and they plug in all of your gear for you, and all you need to do is go and play, and the settings are there. But that is also the strictest and most professional one that I have seen and heard of.
So that one's interesting because you, in theory, want to be you want to be switching between the 2 sets throughout the year, because it can sometimes be weird when you're used to playing on a specific keyboard, and yeah, you have a duplicate of it, but you've never used the duplicate. When do you use the duplicate? Do you use it for practice only, or do you use that for actual TI? Because what you're practicing on, you want to play with, but technically speaking, you can't play on the same stuff you're practicing on at TI, right? So
I think so. If you're saying if the gear you hand in for competition breaks, right?
not
If something
not
malfunctions,
breaking is a different thing. It's more about wear and tear that you're used to on like a mouse or keyboard
Right.
or like
I see. So like the grease isn't there when
yeah,
you go to
this
play in the
like
booth.
a brand new setup versus what you're used
Yeah.
to playing on. You know what I mean? So you want to be
Yeah.
using both throughout the year in theory. It's not that
In
big of a deal.
theory, yeah, but that is so extremely minimal that
But
yeah.
there is one major thing that pro players have a hard time adjusting to when they get to TI in terms of this setup. Trying to replicate that Windows activation message on the bottom right that they all have at home is very hard to replicate on a legit
Put in your
PC
auto
by
exec,
Valve.
you put in an overlay that just puts it.
Layerth introducing Windows activation overlay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think Counter-Strike's a little bit more hardcore in terms of like auto execs and all your settings and stuff because a lot of the stuff you for Dota is on the cloud anyway.
Exactly.
But,
it's on the cloud. Almost everything's on the cloud now.
Technically,
It
Counter-Strike
wasn't
is as
earlier. I don't know when they changed this. I feel like some years back, a lot less stuff was stored in the cloud. But now, really specific things, like even down to a single hero's keybinds, I think get stored in the cloud. So I don't even know how necessary auto execs are anymore, to be honest, for the players that really use them. I think maybe there's stuff you still have to run in there, but it can't be much anymore, I think.
Yeah, I haven't kept up with Counter-Strike, but I know like 10 years ago, this was a major thing. You had to have like auto exec config, you need to make it read only so it doesn't rewrite itself. Like, very particular with that kind of stuff. Okay. We actually did this way faster than I thought, Synderen. Congratulate. We didn't go over 2 hours. Well done.
Good job.
It could go longer if you've seen In Bruges.
No.
Okay, thanks for watching, everybody. Until next week, Suns fan Synderen saying good day. Enjoy your dotes. Bye-bye. We say things that don't mean anything, but thanks for listening. Yeah.